Before we get into our next topic here, I want to introduce an honorary panel member, which is my 16-year-old cat behind me, Hurley. Which I don't know if anyone saw him. He was there. He's been there, but was sleeping very soundly when we started, and I was not going to move him. So he's joining us today, honorary panel member Hurley, but also joining us are actual humans who can speak English, which is Matthew Marsden, BlazeTV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, along with Nick Sortor, independent journalist who you guys need to be following on X because he is getting himself into all sorts of trouble going and getting great coverage on everything that's happening in the country. I appreciate both of you guys being here. So I was just talking about, like, we've got a lot of retards in Congress, like a lot. One of them is obviously Jasmine Crockett. And we played this yesterday. I'm sure you guys saw it. But she was kind of, well, she had a little oopsies, and it was very embarrassing for her because she was trying to make the point. She thought she got Lee Zeldin on these donations that he got from Jeffrey Epstein.
Folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly: Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin. I just want to be clear. If this is the standard that we're going to make, just know we're going to expose it all. And just know that the FEC filings, they are available for everybody to review. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay, dumbass. It was like a totally different Jeffrey Epstein, because as it turns out, that's kind of a common name, but she didn't bother to look at that. And of course, these donations were made after Jeffrey Epstein was dead. So that made it even more embarrassing for her. And so you would think, like, maybe she would have a moment of self-reflection and maybe she would try to undo the damage that she did. But instead she went on CNN, and I have very low expectations for Jasmine Crockett, but somehow she even managed to surprise me with the way that she tried to justify this.
Do you want to correct the record on the people that you—
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team, what they did is they Googled. And that is specifically why I said a Jeffrey Epstein. Unlike Republicans, I at least don't go out and just tell lies. Because it was not the same one, that's fine. But when Lee Zeldin had something to say, all he had to say was it was a different Jeffrey Epstein. He admitted that he did receive donations from a Jeffrey Epstein, so at least I wasn't trying to mislead people. Now, have I dug in to find out who this doctor is? I have not. So I will trust and take what he says, is that it wasn't that Jeffrey Epstein, but I was not attempting to mislead anybody. I literally had maybe 20 minutes before I had to do that debate.
Yeah, but people might see that and say, well, you're trying to make it sound like he took money from
I did not know.
A registered sex offender.
No, but I literally did not know.
No,
when you search FEC files, and that's what I had my team to do, I texted them and I said, listen, we're going up. They are saying that she took donations.
Right, but someone might say, well, your team should have done the homework to make sure it wasn't the convicted sex trafficker.
Within 20 minutes, you could not find that out, not from just doing a quick search on FEC. So number one, I made sure that I was clear that it was a Jeffrey Epstein, but I never said that it was specifically that Jeffrey Epstein, because I knew that we would need more time to really.
Yes, that was definitely what she was going for. She's like, well, how could you possibly expect me to do that much work in 20 minutes? Well, that's why you would wait and not say something like that, you total dumbass. But instead, we have Jasmine Crockett, who, again, is quite the embarrassment to Texas. I would just like to state for the record, I have been born and raised here, and we don't claim her. Nick, what are your thoughts on this debacle?
I mean, clearly, these are wise words from the leader of the Democrat Party. Whether you like it or not, it was funny. You even saw Caitlin Collins sitting there and looking at her like, oh, my God, our party is so screwed. And I don't blame her. I mean, no, who is going to – you would have to be brain dead to buy this argument that's coming out of her. And she is a walking example as to why we need IQ tests in order to run for Congress. I'm all for that. I think I can get the American people on board.
I agree. I totally agree. She is the poster child for that, Matt.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, apart from the fact that she's dumber than a box of rocks, I mean, she really does have a massive case of verbal diarrhea. It's almost impressive, actually, the way she was able to go on and on and on. Listen, just say we messed up, and next time, don't just go with something after you haven't researched it properly. I mean, this is it's meant to be like journalism 101, right? But it's also politics 101. Don't come out and just say something, especially about Epstein. I mean, it's such a hot topic right now. She is an utter disaster. She's embarrassing. She's embarrassing. She's possibly the worst.
Definitely the worst, I would say. So you mentioned, I think that was a good way to describe it, verbal diarrhea. And I think that she had a little bit of a case of that later in the interview when guys, I need you to help me make sense of this, because she started talking about Stacey Plaskett, who, of course, we mentioned yesterday was like caught texting her bestie, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle of a hearing where they were trying to impeach Donald Trump the second time. And, you know, Jeffrey Epstein hates Trump the most, which is like the thing that is most evident from the emails, is that he hated Donald Trump, which personally I would wear as a badge of honor if I were Donald Trump. But so she's like texting her bestie, Jeffrey Epstein. He's helping her in the trial. And she's like, I was just texting a constituent. What do you like? All my constituents, I guess, have my number. What's wrong with that? And Jasmine Crockett, as if she couldn't get any dumber. She brings Stacey Plaskett up, and like this was what she had to say about all of that.
Stacey didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated that chain, and she took the information. Just like if somebody texts me.
Yeah, but she was responding and saying, you know, what are you talking about? Quick, I'm up next. And then her questions were about Rona. But do you think that was inappropriate? I mean, would you text with someone who is a registered sex offender about what you should ask?
I honestly know that he had never been convicted of any federal crimes at that time.
But he had been in jail already.
He had been in jail. And my deal is this. The Republicans are constantly texting with a 34-count convicted felon. So if it's okay for them to text him at any point in time, then I'm not going to say that that's right or wrong, especially to the extent that you're talking about kicking someone off their committee. Were they sexting? Was it a matter of her being involved in the pedophilia? No, it was nothing like that.
Like, wait, what? Your defense is at least they weren't sexting? Like, what world, what planet are you on? I don't understand, Nick.
I mean, he wasn't convicted of anything besides pedophilia and sexual misconduct and stuff. I mean, besides that, he wasn't convicted of anything yet, which is not. I mean, I don't even know how you use this as a defense. It's not just any constituent. It's one of the most well-known, highest-profile pedophiles and child traffickers to ever walk the earth. And Democrats, I guess they're used to that. I mean, we know that they've typically given safe harbor to pedophiles, calling them minor attracted persons and whatever. Yeah. And this whole Epstein thing that they act like they're upset about, things like this prove that that's all like fake outrage. And Jasmine Crockett is a perfect example to use for that.
Yeah, no, you're right. And, like Stacey Plaskett, first of all, fairly certain Jeffrey Epstein would not sex with her. She is way too old. Like he clearly had a problem. That's the whole issue. But it seems to be a weird discrepancy, Matt, that she's making, that it's like, well, but there were no federal charges. It's like, no, but we were all already very clear that he had a case in which everyone agreed, including him, that he was guilty of being a child predator. And your reason is, well, but it wasn't a federal case. And also it could be worse. I mean, like she could have been sexting with him. Like, what?
It's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, she really is the gift that keeps on giving. I do think that, you remember the Simpsons episode where it goes up to Homer's head and it shows what's in his head, and it's just like a monkey playing cymbals. That's what I think goes on in Jasmine Crockett's brain, which isn't a lot at all. And you think about, like, this is the bench that the Democrats have. This is all they have. They've got Gavin Newsom and this woman, who is a absolute walking disaster. This is why they're probably going to be clamoring for Kamala to come back, because she's so bad. I mean, why even bring that up at all? Why go to that issue? It's crazy.
With people like Jasmine Crockett, it's Jasmine and AOC that I often, when I watch them speaking, I can visualize, like I can see in my head so clearly the hamsters in the wheel. and the wheel is like broken, and then the hamster just starts like hitting the wheel, and the ball is like how I see it happening as they're speaking. And it's just very entertaining to me, especially when you consider, did you guys see the clip of Charlemagne? He calls him, I hate to say the God. He calls himself Charlemagne the God. He's clearly not. But did you guys see him? And he was going on about how Jasmine Crockett should be like the face of the party because she's such a phenomenal messenger. I believe he said those were his phenomenal messenger. And I'm like, please, God, yes, keep that up. Keep that same energy up for this woman, because when you have places like CNN, and Nick, I think you mentioned it earlier, when even CNN, even Caitlin Collins is having to push back on you, you know that you have totally lost the plot. And she is going to have to figure out who she even is going to have on her side, because it was also The View that, like, you know, things are bad when the ladies at The View, the hens at The View, have turned on someone like Jasmine Crockett. But it feels like that's what's happening.
I mean,
but also
sex abuse of children.
When she said, my team looked into this quickly, when you're going to throw out an accusation that big, which we all know this case is that big, just own it, say it was a mistake, and move on, because to then try to say, well, they lie and we don't lie, again, it's the distrust in Congress and our politicians.
But the bottom line is, and you've said this before, Sarah, this is not a partisan issue. This is not a political
but I'm speaking purely to don't fling an accusation out on the congressional floor and not dial it back quickly, abruptly say, I got it wrong, and move on, because it isn't political. It's criminal.
That's been, Nick, I think the most beautiful thing about the Democrats screeching about releasing the Epstein files is that all of these media apparatuses understand that, like, you can't be friends with the guy that everyone was screaming you couldn't be friends with when it applied to Trump, and not hold them to the same standard, because it makes them look terrible. I mean, you're talking about a child predator. And so now you have the View, CNN, MSNBC, you have these people who, like, the Democrats are going to have to answer for this, and it just does not look good for them at all. They have total egg on their face.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, they didn't want to condemn this either. They didn't want to condemn Stacey Plaskett on the House floor with that censure the other day. Every single one of them voted against censuring her for sexting, or, well, texting, maybe sexting. We don't really know. We haven't seen all the records, to be clear, during a committee hearing. And she's still on the Intel committee. She's still on the Intel committee, and who knows who else she's texting during these meetings. Like, why is she taking directions from convicted, people that have been convicted of serious, heinous crimes, live in these meetings? Like, how about we have somebody on the Intel committee that, can, first of all, do some things by themselves, and second of all, has better sources than pedophiles?
Right.
It doesn't seem like a very high bar.
No, you would not think that it would be a high bar. And somehow here we are. Jeffrey Epstein was like who the Democrats turned to for all sorts of like advice, committee advice, dating advice. Jeffrey Epstein was the advice. What's the column? What was the column? The newspaper column with the advice giving. Jeffrey Epstein was apparently like that person, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, what it makes me think is, what else are they getting advice on, and from whom? I mean, to me, it's shocking that they have their phones in those things anyway. It's almost like they can't operate without having some support in one way, shape, or another. I mean, certainly on an Intel committee, you shouldn't be having your phones in there if you're having a discussion. I mean, I'd look at this, I'd look and say, well, are you getting advice from foreign agents? Are you getting advice from other people that have a vested interest in the questions that you're asking? And that is not a good thing at all. I don't understand that. But this is how bad it's got. Yeah, no, they're so low that even The View can't defend it. That's where we are.
Yeah, no, you do bring up a great point, because it's like, if you can't prep beforehand, if you don't have the prep beforehand for this impeachment hearing, that I believe she was a manager of this second impeachment trial where she was texting. Like, if you don't have your stuff together enough, that you already have all these questions, that you already know where you're going, you probably have no business being involved in the hearing. And you can just like stay in your office and study the stuff until you understand what's going on, is how I would prefer people to be running my country.
If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.